which is not too dissimilar to exactly what Stalin did during his time period from 1929 to 1953. So there was a post kind of echoing on the back of this that it started by a Twitter post from Gregor Capital, and it said the first felony conviction of a former U.S. president wasn't for the Iraq or Afghanistan wars. It wasn't for illegal CIA coups, drone striking weddings, or spying on Americans. It was because Trump misclassified $130,000 payment for a porn star's NDA. Tells you everything you need to know. But what was more important was actually the comments down below that from Bill Stebbins. It says, the infamous Moscow trial, also referred to as the show trials, were a series of staged court proceedings in the Soviet Union during the Great Purge from 1936 to 1938. This is pre-World War II. Stalin was in alignment with Germany at this time. Used to eliminate political opponents and consolidate Stalin's power. First directed against the Trotskyists. I can't actually say that word, but they were subsequently directed towards members of the right opposition of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. They were public spectacles carefully designed to highlight the supposed guilt of the accused to warn others against contemplating challenging Stalin's autocratic regime. They were heavily publicized, characterized by the absence of due process, and were attended by large audiences, including foreign journalists. I wonder why that would be. The evidence presented in the court was fabricated by the secret police and included false testimonies, forged documents, and manipulated photographs. As a reminder, Joseph Stalin, dictator of the Soviet Union from 1929 to 1953, was ultimately responsible for the deaths of between 20 to 60 million of his own people. An informative read on this butcher is found in the 1939 biography Stalin, written by Boris Sorovin. So the truth here is this is the same thing that happens at the end of every regime. And when the regime is losing power, they will do everything in their power to try to maintain it. And it doesn't matter. They're
right.
They're pulling out no stops
for sure
to try to make this happen. And there's a great series, if you guys haven't seen it, called A Gentleman in Moscow. And it actually kind of displays this whole concept where they were literally going through and taking the wealthy people and they were just taking them out and forcefully taking over through these false trials. And if you guys haven't seen that movie, I would highly recommend it. It's a great watch. It's like 2 seasons long.
Yeah, dude. I guess, the motivation too, and even covering it from these angles is that, the bickering, the comments, the division, sure. But at the end of the day, as adults, as Americans, you gotta, what is happening, right? It's like, clearly, even people that hate Trump know, first of all, we see plenty of people that have been like, I'm not even a Trumper and now I'm a Trumper. Yeah. There's been so many tweets, some funny ones floating around of like, dudes, I saw this one floating around. It was like these three brothers in country music, black dudes in country attire. And they're like, we're voting for the felon anyways. We don't care. And it's just super funny. But
so coming off of that, he raised another $52.4 million of support from people who, like some of the dudes coming out of Sequoia Capital who would be considered probably lefties in their political view. I think just in general, let's just set, parties aside. People are just fed up with the abuse of power and the gross power grab with a lack of concern for the greater good of the overall population. Yeah. Like, why? You guys are sucking at your job, basically. And so we're just fed up with it. And so it seems like a non-career politician might be a better alternative than what we've currently got, which is flip-floppers who perennially pee down our back and tell us it's rain. They have no concern for anything other than voting themselves a raise.
Yes. And on that note, I wanted to take the news and break the news to you guys that I am in fact running in 2028. And there's a new generation coming down the pipeline. So vote for D at voteford.com. That is not true. It's not true, but he has a point, which is like, just maybe, it's time to get someone out of your district who's been there for 30 years.
Correct.
40 years, 50 years.
I mean, our founding fathers were young entrepreneurial capitalist who came here to escape the similar type of rule over them.
Correct.
In a different country.
Yeah. And I don't want to drag this out, and maybe I won't, but there was 2 clips that we had of Alvin Bragg, and we can just talk about them. There were Alvin Bragg getting a standing ovation. I don't know if we should go into them or not, but one is the attorney that he talked about, who's doing all this unprecedented stuff, getting a standing ovation in church. The other one is Maxine Waters, who's a representative, making some pretty significant statements about calling on the Department of Justice to ask them what they're going to do for Trump supporters. These are, maybe we can link to them or we can cut them up in the shorts or something.
I'd be interested to see the Maxine Waters one on Trump supporters.
I am going to spend some time with the criminal justice system, with the justice system, asking them, tell us what's going on with the domestic terrorists. Are they preparing a civil war against us? Should we be concerned about our safety? Probably. What is he doing with this divisive language? It is dangerous, and we're going to have to make sure that we understand that we're not at risk with this man talking in the way that he's doing. I will go and take Trump out tonight. And if you see anybody from that cabinet
this divisive language.
Yeah, you can pause it. She said, we're not at risk with this man talking like that. She didn't mean to say that. But that's what's true, Maxine. You're at far less risk in the long run than with the guy you serve faithfully.
Well, so far it seems like people are going to show up at the ballot box, and that's where the great divide will actually happen. So.
Yeah, and so notice her rhetoric, right? I'm going to go to the Criminal Justice Department, the Department of Justice, and I'm going to talk to them about what are they going to do with these domestic terrorists.
What a saint! You're such a saint, man.
You're such a saint, but who do you think you are? But how can you have such brazen confidence to say that, unless like this is why the American people are like something doesn't line up there. First of all, who are you going to walk into? You're going to walk into the Department of Justice and get a plan and itinerary for what we're going to do with these terrorists. These people that are not terrorists are just Americans who love their country.
Maybe you should actually go talk to the Biden administration to ask them why they just gave 400,000 people permanent residence in the United States.